Paula, thanks so much for joining me today.
You're very welcome.
I wanted to ask you, first of all, you've mentioned in the past that there are some things that every buyer agent needs to know if they have a buyer that's interested in submitting a short sale offer.
And the number one thing that a buyer's agent needs to know is that a short sale is not a foreclosure, that the seller of the property is still entitled, even though the bank, servicer, investor will make the final decision as to any offer that's made on the property. But a short sale is not a foreclosure. You do not have to be concerned about the listing agent shopping your offer and looking for the highest and best, because there may be more than one offer submitted on a property, and they may be all presented to the seller, but there's only be one offer actually go forward to the lender, servicer, or investor. So you have to worry about your offer being shopped and getting in that position of people calling for the best and finest and highest offer on the property. You don't have to be worried about that.
Okay.
Then the other thing is short sales are about cutting losses. Foreclosures are about recovering losses.
Ah, very important.
Okay.
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 Excellent. And you said something earlier about statistics as far as the close rate. Oh yeah,
it's an often quoted statistic about that less than 20% of short sales close. Well, the other statistic that you need to be concerned about is less than 15% of so-called non-distressed properties close. So that means anything other than a short sale or foreclosure. So you have a greater chance of closing a short sale than you do a non-distressed property. It's just that the timeline can be stretched out to like 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
As opposed to a 30 to 45 day closing on a non-distressed property.
Okay, wonderful. That's good information to have. And we've also talked a little bit about if you are a realtor and you are contemplating taking a short sale as a listing, what are some things that are most important that you understand about that?
The very most important thing, the most important thing to me whenever I field a cold call from a seller, there's either a cold call coming in, or I've been referred by another agent, or they're a former client. But my number one question that I ask the seller is, what kind of a loan do you have on your property? And when I say what kind of a loan, I'm only asking, do you have a conventional loan, a VA loan, or an FHA loan on your property? That's the only 3 kinds of loans that there are. Okay, and I'm always saying a silent prayer that what's going to be said next is that it's going to be that they say to me it's an FHA loan, because we're way ahead of the game if we know in fact that there's an FHA loan on the property. Because what I know that's going to happen coming down the pike is that a real honest-to-God appraisal is going to be ordered on the property to determine fair market value. So there will not be any guessing as to what the seller, servicer, investor wants to net on the sale of this property. So everybody knows up front this is what they want. There's no negotiating, and we go forward.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Is there any additional information that you would like to share? That you need to be very concerned, if you're a listing agent right now, you need to be very concerned about receiving calls from people saying, I've got to get my house listed, I've got to fax a copy of my listing agreement to my lender, because since June of this year there's a Fannie Mae initiative in motion to offer people deed in lieu. Well, the key to a deed in lieu is that your property has to have been marketed for 90 days. Therefore, I'm saying, and I'm encouraging listing agents, or agents period, to get on the bandwagon with me, to not put yourself in the position to be used by a bank, lender, investor, to be used for 90 days, and then they take that listing from you and they turn around and give it to an REO agent. Okay, so basically that's a very big thing to understand as realtors, because what you've just said is for a bank to offer that, it has to be listed by a realtor for only 90 days, but that's a requirement. That's a requirement. So they could come out and they could find any realtor to list the property for 90 days, and the bank knows full well that once that 90 days is passed, that listing can be taken away from that realtor. And see, and what you have to understand as a listing agent is, number one, because I'm not going to put myself in that kind of position. I mean, I'm going to, if in fact I get those kind of, and I have actually gotten 3 calls like that, and because the reason why you don't want to put yourself in that position is because not only are you going to be used for 90 days, but the seller whose property you're listing, they are totally disincentivized to do anything.
Right.
Because they can screw up all the showings, they can turn down the showings, they have no incentive to keep their house in showing condition because they know at the end of 90 days they're going to give the keys back to the property and walk away and be given money in the process, and you're totally out of the picture.
Wow. So it really is important to ask those questions up front, so where you can kind of qualify the seller, qualify what's going on, so then you can decide if you want to take that on or
Correct.
not. Okay, and ways that you can protect yourself if you do take it on, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Right. And you just, and as a buyer's agent, when you call to get just some basic information on the listing itself, you need to be very, very concerned about entangling your buyer in a contract if you're dealing with a listing agent who cannot answer the most basic questions, such as what kind of loan is on the property, who is the lender, is there more than one lien involved, is there a second lien, are there any mechanics liens, or are there any HOA liens? Because if they cannot give you just that kind of basic information, there's all kinds of other properties that you can go show your buyer.
Okay, awesome. Well, we're going to stop the tape for a little bit, and we're going to come back and talk more, okay?
Great.
Thank you so much. All right, more to come with Paula Walter.